I'm here with Nicolas today, and we want to talk about some of the most important autofocus features that work on basically all of the Nikon set cameras. Nicolas, you have more experiences with these cameras than me, so what do you think is one of the most important ones?
So generally the feature that I like the most is to be able to switch between different focusing areas. So for example, if I photograph a bird that is perched on a tree, I like to use the 3D tracking or just the auto area, which is basically across the whole frame pretty much. But if they fly away, I like to use the wide area. Sometimes the wide area large or just a larger one with the C1 or C2. So by being able to press a different button and just switch the focusing mode or the focusing area, it's much more quicker than pressing the focus button. For example, I've set it up by using the AF on button for the auto area and then the display button for the single focusing point.
Yes. I do it in a similar way, but since I don't use back button autofocus only, I basically use the shutter for the single point autofocus and then the AF on for the C2 that I have set to quite a large area. There's different ways, but it's so much quicker than going into the menu, as you mentioned. So to set this up in your camera, you go into the menu and then into the custom settings, the one with the small pencil, and then F2. Then you can select whichever button of the camera that you want. And then it's called
AF area plus AF on.
Exactly. If you just click the AF area, this would mean you need to activate the autofocus with another button. So this doesn't work well if you use the back button autofocus approach.
So I think your favorite option is the focus limiter, right?
Yes, definitely one of my favorite options, and it was introduced in the camera quite recently for the Z6 Mark III, and I think back in June for the Z8. And the advantage of having this in camera is that it's way more flexible than with the lenses, especially since for Nikon lenses, you can only kind of mask out the closer distance. So you can set it, for example, depending on the lens, 8 meters to infinity or 15 meters to infinity, but you don't have a close distance. And at least when I use the focus limiter, I usually want to have it more to the close distance.
Yeah, I would say, especially for birds in flight, the problem is more that the focus is lost and then it goes to the background.
Yeah.
And when it hits the background, it's quite tricky to get it back to the bird because it's just so blurry.
Mm-hmm.
So by basically masking out the background behind the animal, it just never goes to that distance.
Yeah.
And if it would lose the animal in some circumstances, it would just generally surge in between, like in the air between the camera and the background, but not stay on the background. So by that, it's just way easier to actually photograph birds in flight, I would say.
So how do we set up this?
So the less convenient way is to go into the menu under A16, I think. I think it depends on the camera a bit. But it should be around A16.
It's called focus limiter, so you will find it there.
Yeah. And there you could set the distance and then you can activate or deactivate it. But the more quicker solution is to actually put it onto a different button. So for me, I set it onto the record button. And if you set it up that way, so it's under F2 again, similar to the previous function. And then you can actually, by pressing long or for like a second or two onto that button, it opens up the menu. So you can set up the distances. So you can set up a distance where it shouldn't close focus closer than this distance. And there's also a distance behind that. And then if you set that up, you can close that menu. And then by just simply pressing it, you can activate or deactivate the limitation. Which is also quite convenient because sometimes like you want to photograph alpine swifts that are in a certain distance, but then you suddenly see something that is further away.
A
raptor, for example, and then it's nice to be able to deactivate that function quickly.
And that's one of the main reasons that I don't like to use the one on the lens so much, because it's a bit more annoying to activate and deactivate it. Yeah, so for the cameras that don't have this functionality, there is another trick that you can use, right?
So one option would be to kind of save focus position and then be able to recall it via a different button. So for some of the lenses, we have that memory set button here, by which you can just manually focus at a certain distance, and then you press that button so it saves that distance, and then you need another button, for example these ones here,
the FN2 buttons.
Exactly, and then you can basically recall that distance that you previously saved instantly, pretty much.
With the 400mm 2.8 or 600mm f4, you have this control ring that you can turn a little bit in either direction, and this is already pre-configured to recall the focus distance. And since you can turn it in two directions, it also means you can directly assign two different focus distances. And there is another way with every camera how you can actually save and recall different distances.
So when you go into the menu to set up that button under F2, it's I think save focus position. There's the option to either save one distance across all the buttons, or there's the possibility to save a distance for each button differently. And in that case, when you set up a focusing position, you press the button to save it for 1 or 2 seconds. Then there's like a sub menu opening up, and then you need to activate the other button that you want to use to recall that certain distance. And by that way you can basically use multiple buttons across your camera or your lenses to recall different distances. I mean, it can get quite complicated,
and
quite
we
quickly.
never used it.
We never use it, but there would be the option.
Yes, I mean, one quick way, if you don't have a lens that has these buttons, is that I like to use these two function buttons in front. You can have one for preset, one for recall, and for me that's just easy to remember and works quite well. Another way, if you quickly want to change the autofocus because it is stuck on the background and maybe you forgot before to do a focus preset or forgot to use the focus limiter, is to just quickly manually focus and just basically shift the focus from infinity to, let's say, 10-20 meters, and it doesn't need to be precise. Usually if you're in the ballpark of where the bird is, afterwards, once you activate the autofocus with subject detection, it will pick up the bird. Now, by default, the focusing ring works in a non-linear way. This means if you turn it a little bit, or if you turn it slowly, the focus moves only a little bit, which is nice, for example, for macro photography when you want to have very precise focus. If you turn it faster, it also moves faster, but for our liking, not fast enough. So there is a workaround.
So again, under the custom configurations, under F9, you can set up the focusing ring to a linear way. And you can set it to, for example, 90 degrees. So if you turn the focusing ring by basically a quarter, you move from infinity all the way to your close focusing distance.
Or the other way, yeah.
Or the other way, yeah. And by that, it's just way quicker. With a 400mm, for me, I basically just need to notch the focusing distance a bit, and then it just goes from the background to the area where I would expect the bird.
Yeah. If you try this for the very first time, I would rather recommend to start with 120 degrees or maybe even 180. 90 degrees is quite sensitive, so I think it needs a bit of getting used to, and I think you just need to figure out what works best for you there. As you can see, the last 3 settings were quite similar in a way that they either prevented the camera from focusing on the background, or they are a way to quickly get the focus in the ballpark of where our subject is. And this can really help in these action scenes to still get a sharp image. And if you want to have more tips of how you can configure your Nikon Z camera, no matter which of the models, perfectly for your needs with different autofocus setting for different light situations or different backgrounds, then just have a look at our autofocus ebook. We linked it below.
So especially if you're like photographing for a long time and you sometimes switch off the camera to save some battery, there's sometimes the issue that if you switch the camera off, the focusing distance basically resets, so it goes to infinity. And then when you switch on the camera again, you first need to focus again on the perch that you basically expect the bird to come to. So there's a workaround there as well.
And this is basically, I think it's called save focus, but like on power off, not save a distance, but on power off. And it just keeps the focusing distance in the same position. And Nicholas, you mentioned before, when you want to switch off the camera for saving battery. But if you run out of battery and you need to replace the battery, it's the same thing. And especially if you work with camera traps and you use manual focus, this can be really helpful, because otherwise you turn off the camera to just replace the battery, let afterwards turn it on again, let the camera run with the camera trap for I don't know how many other hours or days. And even if it was a manual focus, it's now on infinity, and it will not focus again any closer because it's a manual focus. So there, this setting can really help to save the image. One additional thing I want to mention: this is only a problem or a feature for all the lenses that have electronic manual focus, which basically all Nikon Z lenses are, I think, except the 50 millimeter Noct.
Yeah, it's Noct. Yeah, that's the exception. I don't think that's actually quite a wise life lens, though.
No.
So shouldn't be a problem in that sense. So the previous functions that we looked at mainly change the behavior of the autofocus itself. And the next function actually changes how the focus is actually displayed. And it doesn't really help the camera itself, but it helps us in a way that we understand autofocus a bit better, and we can see better what actually is going on in the camera. So I think it's under A10 or A11, it's called focus point display, and there you can change how the focus point is displayed in the viewfinder and the monitor.
Yeah, so the default setting for Nikon cameras is if you are in AFS mode, so the one where it focuses once and then you can recompose, the autofocus area is red. If it's not focused, and as soon as it's focused, it turns green. However, if you are in AFC, which is wildlife photographers, we are 99% of the time, it always stays in red. And we changed it to, I think it's just called on, and then it's turning green. And as soon as the camera has confirmation of the focus, and this just makes it for us a bit easier to understand if the camera has a proper lock on the subject, especially if it's a bit smaller in frame, or maybe if we're underexposing and so on.
Additionally, in tracking, if it recognizes an animal, the box actually turns yellow if it's off, and you cannot really see yellow that well. So by turning it on, it changes to green, and green is just much more visible than the yellow box.
Yes, and speaking of the tracking, specifically for the 3D tracking, there usually if you start, the autofocus area has like this white or light grayish border, which depending on the background is quite hard to see. So we just recommend to change the color here to a different color that you can see it better. As we mentioned before, red works quite well in many situations. There is one last setting, and I think we use the same setting there as well. And it's the thickness, basically, of the autofocus area, because with all Nikon cameras, it's quite thin. So this small red box where you focus is quite thin and sometimes maybe a bit hard to see. And you have the levels 1, which is the default, 2 and 3, and we both put it to 2, I think, which is in the intermediate, because 3 starts to get very thick. For us, 2 is a nice compromise. In the end, just take whatever works best for you. As Nicolas mentioned, all these settings don't influence the camera. It's just should help you to have a better understanding of what the camera is doing.
So for our last function that we really like is that we are able to change the size of the wide area to different sizes. So we not only have the option of just a small box and a large box,
S&L,
but instead we also have C1 and C2, which stand for custom 1 and custom 2. And we can change the size of these by either going into the I menu, and then if you press long on the OK button, it opens up a submenu, and then by pressing up or down or left or right on the sub-selector, you basically can change to a different size. You could also change it by just pressing the focus mode button that you have on the Z8 or Z9, and if you have the wide area C1 or C2 selected, by staying pressed on the button, you can also just change by pressing up, down, or left or right.
Or obviously by going into the proper menu.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is another function that you can combine it with that can be quite interesting, because if we take pictures of bird, like in a landscape orientation, we often take a custom zone that is a bit wider than it is high, basically. This just gives us more flexibility if the bird turns the head and we want to change composition. And if you turn the camera into vertical, then it's basically the wrong way. So one option you have here is basically to store the autofocus area by orientation. And there is 3 settings. There is off, then there is on for the position only, and basically on for the position and the type, the area. And then you could say that you want to have C1 in, just put this setting, and then you can dial in C1 in landscape. And the next time you change into portrait, it will still be C1, but then you change this to C2. And from this moment on, it will remember the autofocus area based on the orientation of the camera.
Perfect. So those were some of our functions that are, for us at least, really helpful in the field. If you have some other functions that you found in the camera, let us know in the comments. And if you have some questions, we'll do our best to try and answer those.